I want to set the record straight about Robert Martin and his stroke, because apparently there's a lot of, misinformation floating around. So Robert moved from Los Angeles to Colorado because his sister passed away and he had to take care of her house. He lived in Colorado for a year and he was touring from there and doing his music stuff. And even after he sold the house, he still got a little apartment and he was doing pretty well in Colorado. Then last fall, suddenly he's like, I'm moving to Utah. And I was like, oh, that's weird. He was like, yeah, there's a woman that I met online and she needs help with her 2 little kids and I'm going to do a nice thing and pay her rent and take care of her. And I was like, oh, that's really nice of you. So he moved in with this woman. It was an Airbnb that cost $2,500 a month. And I was like, wow, Robert, that's a lot of money. And he's like, yeah, I know, but she needs help. And so he was paying for all of the Airbnb and he was letting her use his brand new car, even though her name's not on the car. In fact, she still has his car. And she was being nasty to him more and more. He was updating me because we text almost every day. And he was like, I can't wait to get out of here. And he started to put his stuff in storage and slowly trying to drift away from this person. Then he was in between places to live. So he was actually sleeping in his car for the whole month of April and a little bit of May. And I asked my friends in Utah. I have 2 close friends in Utah. One I've known since 2001 and his girlfriend. So I said, can you please help me? My friend Robert is in Utah and he desperately needs a place to rent. And can you help? And they call me back right away and they go, yeah, we know a drummer and he has a room for rent. It's not going to be that expensive. It's only going to be $500. And I was like, thank you. So Robert was super grateful and he moved right in and everything was going well. I mean, he kept to himself in the room and he was doing his tours from there, the Zappanala and so on. And that woman still has his car, by the way, and her name's not on it. So I was like, Robert, you better get that car back. And she stole his instruments. She has his French horn, his trumpet, and some keyboards. And so he had to get alternative instruments to do the Zappanala and other shows. That woman has his car and all of his instruments. She lives in Utah. So apparently another woman from Facebook named Janice had been recently calling Robert. I've never heard of Janice, and Robert tells me everything. Never heard of her. She's been calling him on Facebook Messenger. And the Zappa alumni are so kind and friendly. Anyone can call them on Facebook Messenger, and they usually answer because they're not snobby. This woman, Janice, recently was speaking to him right before his stroke and, was asking him how he's doing and everything, apparently. And she started to notice that he was slurring his words. And Friday morning, he had a stroke. And she told his roommate, also on Facebook, I think Robert's having a stroke, but don't call 911 because he'll become a ward of the state. So all that stuff was happening. I didn't find out about the stroke until Saturday, 1 a.m. my time, which would actually be Sunday, 1 a.m. So 11 p.m. Saturday night in Utah was 1 a.m. my time. Of course, I'm still awake. And my 2 friends in Utah call me and they go, we're really worried about Robert. We heard from Joe that he fainted and might have had a stroke and stuff. I'm like, well, then why don't we call 911? Like, what's going on? So I immediately called Robert and I was like, Robert, are you okay? And he sounded disoriented. He recognized my name, but he was like, I'm confused and I don't understand the question. I go, what's your roommate's phone number? And he didn't know it. So I left that conversation and called my 2 friends back and we're all on a group chat. And I said, please call his roommate. So we call his roommate, Joe, and I go, hi, Joe, this is Dot. You don't know me yet, but I'm a friend of Robert's. And he cut me off. I couldn't even finish my sentence. And he started screaming at me, saying I shouldn't call him and ask him 25 questions. I'm making it worse. It's his own fault for jogging in the hot sun and for only eating meat and yada, yada, yada. And me and Janice have it under control. And I was like, no, he doesn't jog, he hikes. He was like, he was yelling at me. And he said, I'm not going to call 911. You can call them if you want. And I said, okay, guess what? If something really bad happens to Robert, it's going to be your fault for not calling 911. I'm going to put you on blast. So I hung up on him, called 911 in Jersey. They unsuccessfully called all the police stations and nobody would answer the phone. It was really weird. Nobody was answering the phones at night in Utah. So then I got the number of a close hospital nearby. And this is all 10 minutes later, by the way. So I got the emergency room number of a hospital close to that location where he was staying. And the emergency room dispatch said, that's weird. 5 minutes ago, someone also called for an ambulance to that address, which leads me to believe I scared the crap out of Joe by saying I'm going to put you on blast, which motivated him to finally call 911 40 hours after the stroke. So anyhow, he got 911, which is great. And he's at the hospital. And then Sunday afternoon, my 2 friends went to Joe's house and got Robert's phone and wallet and brought him a change of clothes to the hospital. And Joe was super defensive and angry at my 2 friends saying, get your shit out of my house, get your drums out of my house. I don't want to talk to you ever again. Like, he felt cornered like a cat in a corner. Like we called him out on the nonsense. And so he had another stroke Monday morning, and when I called the nurses station, they're like, oh wow, we have to transfer him to a bigger hospital because he has to have an MRI and an operation to try to remove this blood clot. So I was still in touch with all the nurses stations, and they were informing me. That's how I was updating everybody in the group about his, well-being or lack thereof. And by the way, I did message Robert's son repeatedly on Facebook saying, please call your dad and here's the phone number to the hospital. He never once wrote back. He never gave a thumbs up to my messages, never, ever, ever replied to me, which leads me to believe one of the Zappa fans in a private message to Tina, who was saying, where's his link on Facebook? I am a reporter and I'm going to find Robert's son's phone number. He must have found Robert's son's phone number. And this was a Zappa member of our group, a Zappa group that apparently, I don't know him, but apparently he got bounced from the group a couple years ago for talking shit, starting fights about politics. So somebody in the admins had banned this guy, Jeff, years ago, and he still had an axe to grind. So he probably talked shit to Robert Martin's son, like, yeah, I'm the only one you can trust, or whatever. I don't know. There's no other logical explanation as to why Robert's son would never call us back or, communicate with us, because I have a lot of information. They need to get this car away from this woman, and because Robert's financial status is being bled dry from this woman in Utah. That money is needed for him if he needs long-term care. So anyhow, I haven't been able to sleep since it started. Another guy named Steve private messaged me and said, I'm a Zappa fan and I live in Utah, I can help. And I directed him to my two friends, thinking he's a good guy and he's going to help. But no, once he found out what hospital it was, he went there. And he also called Joe, the angry roommate. And so those two decided to unite and keep Robert all to themselves and block everybody else from visiting or calling. So there's that. And that's the reason why I can't give you any updates. I have no idea what's going on. These two random guys in Utah have blocked my two friends, which found Robert a place to live, and me from getting any updates whatsoever. I'm worried sick about Robert and about people taking advantage of him when he's in this state, of mind. It's really hard to sleep. I would hate for someone to take advantage of me that way. And so I've done the best I can. I'm literally sad every day and I can't sleep very well, knowing that Robert is going through all of this drama, and the people that were doing him good, like going to visit him and playing him Frank Zappa music and making him aware that he has people around him that know him and care. Like, he's never met Steve ever. And now suddenly he's like, oh, I'm going to go see him every day. And I got the son's phone number from the nurse's station. And I said, oh, can I have the number? You got the number? And he goes, no, I'm not going to give it to you. Like, why would you do that? Why would you get the son's number and not give it to me when you're the one who came to me saying you want to help? So there's a lot of manipulation going on and a lot of bullshit behind the scenes. So I just thought I'd let you know, because, I'm a sharpshooter. I tell it like it is. And if people get angry about this video, I don't care. My number one concern is Robert and his well-being. And anyone else who's blocking his real friends from getting updates and stuff, shame on you. Hi, Robert. I miss you. Hoping you're going to get better really soon, because I miss our almost daily conversations and nightly exchange of hysterical memes. So I'm thinking, because you're so fit physically and mentally, if anyone can get through this, it would be Mr. Robert Martin. So I'm looking forward to you calling me when you get better and discussing everything and reminiscing and catching up, because there are a lot of people miss you. They want to hear you sing again and play, and I personally miss you so much. So I'm crossing my fingers and praying and all that other stuff to hear from you really soon. Love you.
Yeah, I think so. Show me Robert again. Okay. Give me a thumbs up. Can you give me a thumbs up? No. Yeah. Yeah, he just turned his hand up. Yeah. Yeah, he can do thumbs up.
Bye, Robert. I guess I'll try to get somebody to come see you again soon and make another FaceTime. But you're doing okay, right?